Without proper balance of fluids and electrolytes, you can experience brain fog, extreme fatigue, and muscle cramps. Dumping Gatorade on top of a coach's head is an American sports celebration. And what started in 1984 as an act of revenge by a frustrated player that the coach had been pushing pretty hard became an expected ritual after a big win. Those players out there on the field are gutting it out and sweating, so they need electrolyte replacement. Today on Healthy Looks Great on You, we're going to talk about when and if you need electrolytes. Assuming you're not an elite athlete, stay tuned to this episode. And if you are, then listen to your coach until the game is over and celebrate big if you win. Healthy isn't just what you do, it's who you become. I'm Dr. Vicki, and this is Healthy Looks Great on You, a lifestyle medicine podcast to help you reclaim your energy, your focus, and your well-being. Life tested, doctor approved. It kind of makes me cringe to see the orange, sticky, ice-cold liquid pouring down the coach's head and drenching his clothes. There's even a book about it called First in Thirst: How Gatorade Turned the Science of Sweat into a Cultural Phenomenon. But what if you aren't wearing a helmet and pads and playing in the heat before a cheering crowd? Do you need electrolyte replacement? Well, like most things, that depends. Let's go to mini medical school and learn about electrolytes and how your body regulates them. Electrolytes are minerals that are absolutely necessary for life. Yes, you can literally die from electrolyte imbalance. And if you've ever had a CMP or a comprehensive metabolic panel done in the lab at your doctor's office, you can look on the report and see the levels of 5 of these electrolytes: sodium, potassium, chloride, calcium, and bicarbonate. Other electrolytes are magnesium and phosphorus, and those can be measured too. And when these tiny elements are dissolved in water, they have an electric charge. And that's important for your nerves to conduct a signal, for your muscles to contract, and for your body to regulate fluids. On top of that, your cells pump sodium and potassium back and forth across the membrane, and zap, you've got a little electric charge. Well, that's exciting. For most people, your body is a master at regulating fluids thanks to the kidneys, and they run a tight ship, fine-tuning how much water and salt your body holds on to. Of course, the kidneys are in constant communication with your brain. And when it comes to most bodily functions, the brain is the boss. It senses water and salt levels in the blood, and when you need it, it triggers thirst. So you don't have to consciously think about it or carry around a giant thermos of water. If your brain wants you to drink more water, it will create an urge to drink that cannot be ignored any more than you could ignore a toddler trying to get your attention while you're on the phone. But like a 2-year-old, the brain has more than one tactic to get its way. If you need more fluid, not only does it trigger thirst, it also tells the kidneys to hang on to the fluids that are already in the body. Told you, the brain is bossy. When everything's working according to your body's God-given design, the kidneys respond by making less pee, and it shows. The volume of urine decreases and your pee becomes darker as it becomes more concentrated. You may not think with your kidneys, but they're pretty brilliant. Not only do they know how to hang on to water when your sodium levels or your blood pressure is low, they know how to hang on to water and sodium. Hormones called antidiuretic hormone and the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system fine-tune fluids and electrolytes. If you have high blood pressure and take medication, you might recognize some of these terms in the generic names of your medicine. And the goal of all of these interworking systems is balance. The source of electrolytes and water in your body comes from what you eat and drink. And most Americans have too much sodium in their diet because it's added to processed foods, and restaurants use a whole shaker full. An adequate intake of potassium is important for your health and can be found in foods like sweet potatoes, spinach, and kale. Bananas, of course, contain potassium too, but the winner in the fruit category is dried apricots. Beans and legumes are also a good source of potassium in your diet. Calcium can be found in leafy greens and tofu, as well as low-fat dairy products. Magnesium-rich foods include almonds and black beans. And under normal conditions, you'll get all the electrolytes your body needs from a well-balanced diet and all the water you need from the faucet. But when things get out of whack, you can get brain fog, extreme fatigue, muscle cramps, and even an irregular heartbeat. And if that makes you break out in a sweat, let's talk about it. Now, I don't know about you, but I sweat. And I remember when I was in high school, I was a cheerleader, and some of the girls just kind of glistened. Not me. I was as drenched as the football players. And here's a fun fact. Sweat by itself doesn't have an odor. What? That's right. There are glands in your skin that produce sweat, and it's odorless until it mixes with bacteria on your skin. Now, sweat has an important job. It regulates temperature by creating moisture on your skin that evaporates and cools the skin. Then the little veins up under the skin carry that cooled blood back into the body's core. Pretty cool, huh? Not only do we sweat when we're hot, we also sweat when we're bothered. Emotions can cause sweat. I remember one time when I was in an extremely anxiety-producing situation and I felt chilled. Well, now I understand why. All that adrenaline running through my body made me sweat, even though the temperature outside my body was normal. Sweat cools, so I felt cold, even though the thermostat was normal. Temperature regulation and sleep are deeply interconnected. So if you are warm during the night, you'll sweat. And of course, this can get excessive with hormonal fluctuations, stress and anxiety, and blood sugar swings. Sweating is one way your body tries to cool down if you have a fever. With an infection, your body activates an inflammatory response to fight it. And that can cause an elevation of body temperature and trigger sweating. You can actually lose a liter a day with fever. Another cause of dehydration and loss of electrolytes is vomiting and diarrhea. When you throw up, your body is losing acid from the stomach, and that contains chloride, which is negatively charged. With diarrhea, you can lose potassium and bicarbonate, so your body holds onto that chloride, and that can cause your body's acid levels to get too high. And diarrhea is currently trending with the cyclosporia outbreak. We are indeed fearfully and wonderfully made. And ideally, we're made to eat a balanced diet and live a balanced life where all the positively and negatively charged electrolytes in our body live in harmony. So why do you need to drink electrolytes? Well, if everything is status quo, you don't. But if you live where I do, in an oven set to greater than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, seriously, it's so hot. You might sweat out what your body needs. Ask me how I know. A couple of weeks ago, I played golf and it was hot, and I drank lots of ice water. I refilled my Yeti at every cooler. An hour after I sunk the last putt on the 18th green, my hands and feet started cramping. I was dehydrated, but I also needed electrolytes, and I needed them fast. On the other hand, if you're sitting at a desk inside where the AC is running full blast, it's unlikely you need electrolytes. Yes, of course, you need to drink enough water to stay hydrated, but you're probably not going to sweat out your sodium and chloride. And honestly, if you're exercising less than an hour and it's not oppressively hot and humid and you aren't giving it 120% max effort, water will probably do to restore your body's balance. One packet of liquid IV contains 500 milligrams of sodium and about 11 grams of sugar. Now, there is a sugar-free version, but you could save $22 for 14 packets of strawberry watermelon flavor and just drink water. Add a sliced strawberry and you'll get flavor plus a tad of fiber. without the extra 500 milligrams of sodium that you probably don't need. When my kids were little, we gave them Pedialyte when they were sick. And pediatricians do recommend this oral rehydration solution to replace what's lost with the stomach bug or a fever. And then adults discovered it helps with a hangover. Too much alcohol causes dehydration, so it makes sense that a liquid that rehydrates helps bring things back into balance. Now, of course, you can go to a med spa and get fluids and electrolytes through an IV. It takes about an hour, costs at least $100 or so, and your good old kidneys will flush it right out of your system within 24 to 72 hours. So if you're able to eat and drink, it probably makes more sense to get your fluids and electrolytes without needles and instead of flushing cash. But let's go back to Jim Burt. He's the guy who first dumped the Gatorade on Coach Bill Parcells. What? You haven't heard of Jim Burt? Oh, well, maybe you've heard of Mike, as in Michael Jordan. In 1991, he was featured in a Gatorade commercial that encouraged all of us to be like Mike, patterned after the Jungle Book song, I wanna be like you, ooh, ooh, shooby-dooby-doo. A standard bottle of Gatorade contains water, sugar, dextrose, citric acid, salt, sodium citrate, monopotassium phosphate, gum arabic, natural flavor, sucrose, acetate, isobutyrate, glycerol, ester of rosin, and artificial color like yellow dye number 5 or yellow dye number 6. And Gatorade Zero contains artificial sweeteners like sucralose. So is it good for you? Well, like anything, if you need it, take it. And if you don't, save your money. I remember the first time I needed an electrolyte replacement and didn't have one. I got a road bicycle with a Kelly green stripe down the bar. And after I learned to clip in my shoes without breaking anything, I went on a big group ride with experienced cyclists. You know, the kind who pedal up hills and make it look effortless. Meanwhile, I was a novice, huffing and puffing and struggling to put my water bottle back into the cage without wrecking. I knew I needed water, but I didn't know about Nuun. They're little tablets that dissolve in water and replace sodium and potassium, calcium, magnesium, and chloride. And let me tell you, when you need it, you need it. So after I got to be a real cyclist, I pedaled 45 miles through pretty steep mountains on a hot day in the Arkansas summer. And at the end of the ride, my face was covered with a grainy residue that I could feel. As sweat evaporated, it left behind sodium chloride, potassium, and calcium. I mentioned this particular phenomenon to a friend who looked at me like I was growing an extra limb and said, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's never happened to me. So if you're one of those people who think sweating is for other people, then sip your water and stay in the parlor with your hair looking pretty, and you can just let your kidneys do their thing and not worry about replacing electrolytes. Unless, of course, you catch a bug and get the runs. It happens to homebodies and couch potatoes alike. The bottom line is, don't fall for marketing. You don't need an IV unless a doctor recommends it, and you don't need to waste your money to replace something that's not being lost. After your next workout, check your pee. Pale yellow means you're good. Grab some water. If it's dark and concentrated, or you've been sweating buckets in the heat for over an hour, that's when electrolytes earn a spot in your bag. And if this just saved you $22 on Liquid IV, hit the follow button and share it with your favorite overhydrator. Healthy kidneys do a great job at regulating fluids and electrolytes under normal circumstances. And healthy balance and healthy looks great on you.
The information contained in this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not considered to be a substitute for medical advice. You should continue to follow up with your physician or healthcare provider and take medication as prescribed. Though the information in this podcast is evidence-based, new research may develop and recommendations may change.